welcome viewers to our first podcast of Encountering the Unknown. I'm Dr. Paul Evidanian, and this is my son, Paul Evidanian Jr. So welcome. This is a podcast about our paranormal investigations and our experiences.
Yes. Okay. So what are we talking about in this podcast?
Well, we're talking about some of our amazing adventures, and we hope that other people might share their adventures also.
Yes. So now, what are we going to talk about exactly in this first episode? What are we going to...
I think we're going to talk about the beginning
Okay.
of our journey of when these experiences first started.
Gotcha, yes. And we're going to take you down the road that eventually led us all the way here.
Yes.
And we hope that you all will enjoy this podcast. And anyone who has their own stories out there who might be afraid to tell someone or just living in a world of confusion and, what is this? Hopefully you'll find comfort and entertainment a little bit from us goofing off and trying to tell you our own stories, which is fun.
Yeah, we hope we'll be bringing some of our friends who will be our guests on the show to tell of their experiences also and things that they've experienced, obviously, when they're with us and outside of, what we've done together. So, do you want to talk about the first thing that happened to you? Go ahead. We're going to be laughing and carrying on and goofing off. So,
Sorry.
Because this is pretty funny.
It's going to happen.
So keep rolling with it.
Okay. So the first thing that happened, all the way August of 2016?
Yes.
Okay, so we had gone to visit my dad's side of the family, to see his mom and brother up in Massachusetts. And how long did we stay there? 5 days, something like that?
I think 3 days, but yes.
Yeah, close enough. And one of the days we were there, we were all hanging around, the usual, hanging at Grandma's house. And
how old were you then?
I was only...
12 or something?
13, I think. I was only 13. 12 or 13.
Yep.
And my aunt, uncle, and cousin were there, and we'd finished dinner, and actually the girls were there too.
I think so.
Yeah, and you guys were all looking at pictures, right? So my younger cousin, and I were throwing a ball in the house. And she threw it over my head, back behind me, and it hit this big wooden front door. It was a wooden door, and then it was the screen door outside.
So the wooden door was open,
The
right?
wooden door was open.
Yeah, so just the screen door was...
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, the screen door was the only thing blocking anyone from coming in. And there were no lights on outside or anything. And so... it hit off the wooden door, which was directly behind me, but then the screen door was kind of like wooden door, then screen door, like this. So it hit the wooden door, fell, then I went over and picked up the toy, because I was like, alright, I'm going to whiz it back. And as I picked it up, I came up, and then I saw this guy. He was like, I remember he had these bold black glasses. He had dark curly hair. He had a suede jacket on with kind of like a checkered work shirt. And I remember he had a gold watch on his wrist. And he was also holding a suitcase or a briefcase. And he started reaching for the door. I think it was his left hand. And as he was reaching for the door... when he would have opened the door, that's when all of a sudden he was just gone. And it was weird because I was like, I started to freak out. I was like, wow.
Well, and I remember that time you said, whoa. And
Yeah.
I said, what? And you said, I just saw something. But, then you didn't say anything more. We carried on. So, what did this person look like? Was there light on them? Or was it because that was dark. We didn't even have the front light on, correct?
So, this guy, his skin was almost like how you and I are right now, like how we have the light on us, almost like glowing. and it was like everywhere though. So I knew it looked kind of weird, but immediately in your head you're trying to make reason of what you're seeing. So I was like, oh, maybe the light is shining on him or something like that. But I could tell his clothes were definitely like, I don't know, like a worker's clothes and someone who like worked an office job or something like that. And that, this was a person who I thought was going to open the door. I was like, like I didn't even know what to do.
Shocked you. You jumped back, right?
And then my uncle, he was right there, your brother, and he asked me like, oh, what happened? And I was like, oh, nothing. But I opened the door.
Looked around
and checked.
I remember you doing that, like, but you didn't say anything.
Yeah, because I was a little freaked out, to be honest. But then, crazy part, after that, like, I forget how many minutes later, it was probably like 20 to 30 minutes, I went over to finally see what you guys were doing, and then you guys were looking at pictures of your dad, and I realized that the same guy who I had seen matched up with the pictures, and one of the pictures looked like almost exactly
like same
like what I had
age.
seen.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I got chills everywhere. I was like, okay, this is crazy because I just
because you never met my dad. He had died, I think 10 years before you were born.
Yeah.
So that was crazy. I remember you didn't say anything till we got home, and then I remember. Mom said, did Paul tell you about what he saw at your mom's house? And I said, no, because you didn't.
Yeah, no,
Then you told me, and he's like, I saw this guy, like we just went through. Then he said, Dad, it was your dad, which blew me away, because, I mean, how crazy is that? So it gave me chills, too, because that's awesome. And so that was the start of some of this, right?
Yeah, that was the first, at least, like, for both of us, that was the first weird kind of incident before everything started to happen. Before, like, our whole story. Like, that's the beginning, the start, kind of. But, so then we move over to September of 2016.
Yeah. So that was, September 2nd of 16. We were with the Boy Scouts of America, which, I'd never been. We had a trip planned for Gettysburg, so we were pretty excited about going.
Yeah.
We were going for, I guess, Labor Day weekend in 2016. And I remember that that day, I was working at my job, treating patients, and I said that, I'm going to Gettysburg later today, and this patient was like, whoa. She's like, oh my God, Gettysburg is going to change your life. She's like, we see things at night when we go there, her and her sister, they see, like they've seen many like apparitions of horses run across the road and different things. She said, you got to bring cameras. She's like, you'll be talking to me, you'll be calling me after this trip. So I was like, okay. She's like, bring every camera you have. So I was like, all right. I mean, again, we'd never been there before. We were excited to go and learning about history. So that got a little louder, didn't it?
I realized yours was off.
Was it? So
yeah, I didn't turn the volume.
Great. So yeah, it's pretty loud. So probably everyone missed everything we just said.
No. That's just for you to hear.
Oh, good.
They got everything.
Excellent. Good. So, are we talking about the first day at Gettysburg? Right?
First day, we hung out. Was that when we were hiking around?
Well, no, we got there like since most of us are working. We got there late afternoon. Although it's summer, so it's not dark till about 7 on September 2nd. So I remember we talked to a guy there that was where we got to stay was the sacred ground on Confederate Way, I believe, where the Confederate boys camped the night before Pickett's charge.
Yeah, McMillan Woods.
Yes, so that was an amazing place just in itself, just to be there, and and no electricity. They had porta potties, of course, and pumped water. Remember that? So we set up our tents and stuff, and then there was a guy that was like he had his camper there, and he was like head of of the campground sort of. And I remember we talked to him, and I said, hey, I met him, started talking to him. I said, can I go out at night and take some pictures? And he said, yeah, of course, but don't take anything. And I'm like, well, you know, it was 100 and how many years after the battle, so 150 something, forget.
It was like 56 or something.
So anyway, you know, again, we set up our tents and stuff. So about, I think, 7 of us, and then myself and another adult, we went out with you guys, and I had an old camcorder from like the early 2000s, I guess. And we said, I remember clearly and vividly that we said some prayers to both sides, and I was trying to teach you guys about what the North was fighting for, what the South was fighting for, and we started walking around, and we went out to the field right at Pickett's Charge.
Yeah. And
near the Tennessee Monument. And as I started to take some pictures with the camcorder, I noticed there'd be like many brilliant lights, you know, when the flash of the camera went off. Remember that? And I remember taking a few pictures, and I couldn't really see what I had on the viewfinder because I need cheaters now because I'm older. So I called the boys over. I said, guys, you got to come over here. You got to take a look. When the camera flashes, we're seeing all these like brilliant lights, and there was some bugs, of course. You'd see, you know, mosquitoes and moths, but this was like hundreds. So I remember I said, watch when I take the flash. Watch when I take a picture. And what happened when I did that? I took one with you guys standing there.
When you took the one.
Yes.
Was it the one?
The one.
The one.
Yes, the one.
Well, then 3 of us, 2 other of the Boy Scouts who were there, we all saw, myself included, we saw a figure standing at the 3rd post of the fence, of the wooden fence that was right by this Tennessee monument at Pickett's Charge. And we saw some guy, like, standing right there. He had, like, almost like a fedora hat. And what the 3 of us described him as was, like, spot on with each of our own experiences. And then you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Because it was, like, a flash, and then you saw it, and then it, like, just was gone.
And I remember I asked you all individually right away, what did you see, what did you see, what did you see? And you all were the same, spot on with what you had said. So we're like, what? We're amazed. So then I started taking more pictures, you know, continuing. And it was probably like 10 at night at the time.
Yeah.
And I remember you guys started to head back to the main road, you know, to start heading back to the campsite. And then I was trying to mess around with the old SD card that was in the, because it said the SD card was full. It was the old tiny, like 128 megabyte or something. So, and there was all pictures that I was trying to erase and take more pics. But anyway, you came running back. What happened? What did you see, you know, after you left me?
Well, so when we were trying to cross the road, as the group of us, we were moving, all of a sudden we got to the one side and we were ready to cross. This huge mist, super thick. You couldn't even see, like, I don't know how many feet, like 1.5 feet or something like that. I'm just saying a number. Yeah. It was so dense, like shining your flashlight from your iPod.
How big was it size-wise? Do you remember?
Oh, it was huge. I remember it was, I don't know how long it stretched, but I remember it took up the whole road. You couldn't see the other side of the road. And I remember, thinking back now, it was pretty high up. It was like, not tree level, but it was like up there. But we were all kind of like weirded out, because after seeing that figure and then like the sparkles from the camera, obviously we're like a little on edge anyway, but then we were like, okay, we're trying to leave, and then this happened. And so then, me being me, I was like, all right, I have a little iPod Touch that was cracked to shit. And I was like, all right, I'm going to take a picture. And so I took a picture of the mist, and then out of the mist, you see this figure, and we wouldn't know what it was until we went home and looked at it again. But that figure is what's on the front cover of our first book. And it's a Confederate general or commander on a horse, and you can see the white X going across his chest. And you can see the outline of a horse, and you can see an arm being raised up. You can see all that.
And you can see his face. I remember.
It's weird because we were like, I remember I didn't even look at it because I had cracks all
you
over
couldn't
my
even
phone.
see.
I was like, what the?
Well, yeah, it was the whatever
like,
it was, iPod.
Yeah.
So you couldn't even really see anyway.
Yeah, I just took it and I took multiple.
Yeah.
But I remember it was like one of the first ones that came through, and I was like, up, like, you would just see like white in one, or it'd be like just you'd see like mist looking stuff. And then it was the one that showed up like that. And I was like, okay, this looks a little weird. And then we saw that. And that was crazy. That was really something.
So even at that point, though, we didn't really know what we had. We knew we had, something special was going on. And most of us, I think all of us felt, that something paranormal was going on. So we said we have to get back to camp, and we were going to hike the next day throughout the park and learn about the history, check out all the monuments, and then would go out the next night and take more pictures, which we did, and we got more flashes, we got more, multiple different color, bright lights when we flashed the cameras. Again, not knowing what we had, correct? But we had a blast, and we learned about, obviously history, one of the, most biggest battles in the Civil War. Was it July 1st through the 3rd, 1863?
Yeah.
So, again, so then we headed home, right? We obviously got home, and then when we got home, we talked to our family about, what things that we saw and how crazy it was. So we started uploading, I think, the SD card to the computer.
Yeah.
And the iPod.
Yeah, and from the iPod to the iPad, or... They know what you meant. I know what you meant.
Yeah. So, and then we noticed, I remember my one daughter said, Dad, I can see a picture of a face smoking like a corncob pipe. Remember that?
Yeah.
And we're like, what? Because we didn't know, again, I couldn't see, what this was. So, and then we got your vision on there, and then we're like, oh my God, it looks like,
it was crazy.
A guy riding a horse. You can see the reins of the horse, and like Paul said, we do have a couple books out that we've done over the past couple of years, which it's called Ghost Heroes of Gettysburg. So it's pretty awesome. We're plugging that, but because that's important about all that we talk about. So, and then we started going there quite often.
Then
basically, I think the next
2 weeks later, we took that whole trip with all of us. Because, I think everyone was like, what are you talking about? When we got home, it was crazy to tell. And even this, reliving everything that has happened, it's like such a weird feeling. But now it's like, whoa. Yeah. Like, until we get to the really crazy stuff.
The meat and potatoes.
Then
what our journey
you guys are in for a treat.
And I'm sure a lot of people, like I said when I started, a lot of people have had experiences at Gettysburg and other, places that are haunted. And eventually we want to have a site where we can, communicate with people, living people, that is, that can tell us their experiences so we can share and learn more. That's, some of the shows on TV. We love watching those also, like everybody else. And we're very interested. And as a doctor, as a scientist, I want to learn. So the next time we went was a couple weeks later. So that was probably it had to be mid-September of 2016.
Yeah.
And what did we see then? It was different experience. I think we saw some of us saw the sparkle. So I got 4 children. Paul is a twin with a twin sister, and then 2 older girls, and then my wife. And I think Jillian, which is our daughter, his twin sister, she saw sparkles too. So
I think she did.
So let's talk about Isabella. What did she see?
Well, her experience was also.
We'll have to get. Well, she'll be a guest too here.
It was also at Pickett's Charge,
right? So
which was crazy.
It was the same monument at Tennessee.
It was. Yeah. It was same very monument. And hers was a little different though, because she was kind of upset because I don't remember if she didn't see the sparkles or what. But she was like, okay, show me something. Like, I need to see to believe. You guys are all getting your own experience, but I personally need to have something happen to me now. And so she was walking off by herself. Then all of a sudden, she said she saw a guy move through the fence, And she came running back.
Yeah, she
hysterical,
was hysterical.
Like screaming.
Yeah, she's like,
and,
I just saw go.
Yeah.
Like, you know, most
Had to
of
slap
us.
her.
Yeah, it was kind of. I mean, it really changed her life. In fact, she hasn't been back since. I don't think. But it was really eye opening for her because she does believe, and like I said, we'll have her on the show, one of the episodes too. But that was pretty crazy.
Yeah,
wasn't
it?
Was. And so that was a good night then. So then to be honest, I've probably been there, and you have been there about 150 times in the last 7.5 years.
It's
right.
We've been there.
Camera malfunction. We got this.
Yes.
So then I think I took you and Marissa again. Well, that's the first time you two came.
Yeah.
And
is that still 2016?
That was probably October of 2016. So then, what happened when you and Marissa were standing there?
Well, there were a couple things, but again, when we were at Pickett's Charge, this is the third time.
Yeah,
right?
That was our biggest hotspot that month.
You were ahead of us, I remember.
I was in the field, I think, taking pictures.
And Marissa and I were at the beginning of the path that goes into the field where the fence starts and where the Tennessee Monument is.
Yeah.
And we were standing right there, and then all of a sudden we heard like a man like making moaning sounds. Like it sounded like he was injured.
On the ground, you could hear it.
Yeah, and we looked at each other first. We were like, was that you? And then she was like looking at me like that.
Yeah.
And so we were just looking around.
And it was like real. It was real.
That we didn't make a noise. We were just standing there shitting ourselves a little bit because you were out and we were right there. But that was crazy.
And I remember you told me that too, both of you. And then I remember we were up at Little Round Top, I believe, and I was going to take a picture of you standing next to each other, I think, right?
No. This was in the wooded area, wasn't
Well,
it?
it was right at the woods where it opens up by...
But we were in the, pathway.
By General Warren's statue, right?
On the rocks.
Yeah, so, and the camera malfunctioned, the battery was dead, remember? I was trying to change that out.
In the dark.
Yeah, and then...
What happened? The flashlight was off or something.
Yeah, we lost energy of things. And then I remember Marissa, who's my oldest daughter, she said that she felt an arm go around her, like comforting her, like it reached around her, like to be in a picture too.
Yeah.
So it freaked her out a little bit, but...
well, I remember she was like, was that you?
Yeah.
And then she looked, and I was
and
like 5 feet away from her.
So that,
And then she moved, and she shined the flashlight. I remember there was mist right there.
So
that was crazy. I remember we were like, what in the world just happened? Because that was something that was crazy. So then we kept on going.
Yeah, well, when you become, every time you go, you get some experiences. I mean, you get addicted to it, I guess. I mean, just interested in learning about, these paranormal places. So, when did we go? Another 2 weeks later or something?
No, we had been going off
every
and
week
on, like you said, we were there over definitely 100 times now. It's crazy. But what about when we went all the way? It was April of 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So up until that point, we've been having odd things happening where it was getting good pictures or feeling something. It was cold or we were scared. No.
Yeah, you were scared.
No. Well, a little bit. I mean,
but you're right. You'd have cold spots, right? Would be taking pictures. It would get
when
really...
it's warm or when it was warm. Before that, but then, so April of 2017, we were walking through Pickett's Charge.
I remember that. It was a very special night.
And this was a crazy night because we had something happen to us that we didn't even know what was happening when it happened. That's how crazy and weird, out of the ordinary, supernatural, some might call it.
I remember you had bought one of the fake muskets or whatever, wooden muskets,
in
right?
the hats, I had.
Yeah, in the hat. He had a Confederate hat, and you were what, about 12 or 13, I think, 13.
Yeah.
And we said we're going to walk across Pickett's Charge like you guys did over to the high water mark. So we were trying to make the same journey they did on that on the third day of battle, July 3rd, 1863. So. What happened then as we were walking across? It was you and I. We were the only people on Earth that were at Gettysburg.
Yeah.
Back then, in 16 and 17, there was really no guards or you could be there. No one threw you out. It was safe. Nobody threatened any monuments or anything. So everything was pretty chill, and it was probably around 10 to 11 at night.
Yeah, when you could be there without any enforcing presence.
Yeah, there wasn't any threats, like I said, and we posed no threat anyway. But so we were walking across. Right in the field, they still grow soybeans and things, but some of the fences have been recreated and put out there. But you still see, there's a monument to Robert E. Lee, and then there's General Meade on the other side, about a mile away, facing each other. So we headed across on that night, and it was a clear night. There was no thunder, there was no storms or anything. It was pretty dark, obviously, no street lights. So what did we hear that changed our world?
So we were walking, and all of a sudden we hear this weird noise. It sounded like a chicken or some type of weird bird making a noise. It was like, blah, 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 or
it was going like,
like that. And we were like, okay, what is that? There's like a bird somewhere in this hay
in
or
the
something.
field. And how many times?
More
than 5.
It did like 5 or 6 times, and it kept on happening.
It was close. It was near us. We had flashlights. We're looking around. We're like looking at each other, looking around, shining, and it was and it was loud too.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
We had no idea what that was, and we wouldn't find out until we went home, where we were. I don't even know how it came up. Your patient or someone, or maybe it was just me. Maybe we were talking about like Gettysburg and like some of the tactics that each side would use against the other one.
To scare,
And one of the tactics that the Southerners would use was the rebel yell.
Mm-hmm.
And I had never heard that, neither had you.
Right.
So we had no idea. And then we both listened to the video, and
almost crapped
shit,
our pants. Yeah,
that was
spot
crazy.
on. That's what it was. So that's what hey, we can say this, and we were there. We know this was real, and it was crazy. It was so cool nuts. Though. Right?
Yeah, it was truly crazy. But then later that night, we had one of the biggest moments, at least for evidence-wise, when we got the whiteout.
Well, that was the next week, but that wasn't the same week. But that was the next week.
Okay.
But that was you're right. But what we did get that you forgot was all the ticks all over you.
Oh my gosh!
Right? You had like 10 ticks in every area.
That was so bad. McDonald's
I had none.
sticking it in.
I had none, but you had like 10.
Oh, so on my neck, on my head, on my legs.
We crossed over the fences. We were we were in there in the thicket of it, and and I think we had company that night. I know we did.
That was, definitely had company when I was in that car.
Yeah,
going,
with the ticks.
What is on my leg? Oh my gosh,
that was very special, though. That was an amazing experience.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
I was thinking back, I'm like, we probably looked like idiots out there going, who was that?
Yeah.
What? Where?
Yeah.
What?
And there was no other living humans there.
If we had known about that before, like, it just lived in the moment instead of frantically looking for a reason for that sound not to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we were just like, what is this? Why are you here? What headless chicken is running around right now, still gobbling or making some weird noise?
Yeah.
So that was
from 153 years ago.
Yeah.
That was then.
Yeah, so I think we're going to call it the first episode because we'll use
time.
this ending to breach into the other one, and you'll see as we get better at this that it's not going to be as rigid. It'll be smoother, obviously, but we just want to thank you guys.
So thank
for
you
bearing
for
with us.
hopefully got a few laughs out of this too, but more importantly that we hope you enjoy our stories and our experiences, and we hope that you'll share some of them with us too, because this has changed our life in a great way. And so thank you for that.
Yes, thank you indeed. And we will see you in the next video, which will pick up where we're leaving off. And you better be ready for that next video, because we got some
it's one of
really
our
big stories
biggest
in there.
nights. It was the next week.
It was the next week, and you know, we got a lot of stuff going on in that. So yeah, thank you all.
Thank you.